Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 59 of Preston Jensen's podcast. I'm your host. If you're new here, my name is Preston, and tonight I've got my wife on the show to talk a little bit about technology in the classroom. But before we talk about that, I've got some things I got to ask her about. What do you think about this setup? It's changed a little bit since you've been here last.
It looks great. I mean, I don't know how to run any of it, so as long as you do,
it seems like
works for me.
Technology keeps getting more in depth, and it seems like it's getting
more buttons.
A lot of buttons. A lot of things are happening. I talked about the Stream Deck in the last episode, and it has been a lifesaver for me. It's been a lot of fun to monkey around with, and I've told a lot of people about the Stream Deck, not only content creators, but people who just use technology in their workplace. I feel like it's something it's not new. It's been out for a long time, but I still feel like it's something that's very useful for somebody, even possibly in a classroom. Maybe we can get to that with the software you're going to be talking about. But I know everyone is dying to know, who are you taking in the NBA Finals tonight? Game 1.
What are my choices?
You've got the Phoenix Suns or the Milwaukee Bucks.
The Suns.
Suns? All right.
Is that a good choice?
I think it's a good choice. I guess I'm not sure.
If they've both made it, they're probably both good choices, right?
Very good choices. However, one of the best players for the Bucks is out, so that might make your Suns choice even better. But
perfect.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The fun thing about it for me is that it's not the usual teams. Usually it's whoever LeBron plays for and someone else. And this year it's going to be fun to have 2 new teams in. So after we get done recording this, do you want to run upstairs and watch the game?
We'll see.
See, I figure if I ask her on the podcast that you're kind of locked in, but no. Tonight we want to talk a lot about technology in the classroom, and the reason we thought about talking about this in the podcast is that you just got done with a recent training.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the app that you're training for and what the training exactly is for.
Well, I think we've mentioned it in previous episodes, using the Seesaw app in the classroom. And I can't remember everything that we've talked about before. I don't know if we've gone in depth about anything, but Seesaw's been around for quite a while. I know for sure since 2015. I'm guessing even sooner than that. But it's like a communication app, along with you're able to deliver instruction and activities and assignments. And it became really big when COVID all hit and people had to teach from home and students had to be able to somehow digitally get their assignments and turn them in. And so last summer I took a course to become a Seesaw ambassador. And so what a Seesaw ambassador is they help teach about it to like their schools and their districts. And so that was my refresher course, was anything new that they're going to have for Seesaw this year. And so they updated all the information that they're adding to that. And then they also kind of refreshed some things that they had just recently, in like the last 6 months or so, introduced.
So here's the test. What's new this year?
So something big is that and if you know the app, you'll know what I'm talking about, but we're able to...
Well, actually, probably for most of the people on this podcast,
probably don't
know. So
right. Okay.
Talk to us like we're a third grader.
Like I mentioned, it's a big part of it is a communication app. And so things that my students complete or activities that I assign to them, they can complete them, and then I approve them, and then parents can see that. And so there's 2 different apps. There's a class app and there's a family app. And so with the family app, I'm actually able to communicate with parents and families, and I'm able to send messages. Like I used to do a weekly newsletter that I would send home, and instead of printing out a weekly newsletter, I just push it out on Seesaw every Friday. And so one thing is that it was always difficult to send like an individual message to a student, which wasn't a big deal, I guess, in my situation with first grade. We only had iPads once a week. We were in school face to face, so we weren't, I didn't have to worry about them being at home. But now they're going to come out with a messages portion to Seesaw. And so you'll actually be able to message individual students or groups of students. You'll be able to pick which students. You can message other teachers, which we've never been able to do. I can message administrators on the app, and families. So that's going to be kind of new. And it's actually on a wait list. So that's not something that's even out right now.
So it's kind of like a beta firmware at this point?
Must be, yeah. So I had to email them to get onto a wait list to hopefully get it for our district.
So in order for this to work, it seems like everyone has to adopt the system, correct? Do all the administrators and all the teachers and all the parents have to be on the system?
Seesaw is free. It is free, but you don't get all, the bells and whistles of the program. You don't get to do everything. You don't get unlimited access to things. And so we actually, before school started last year, we got Seesaw for Schools. So we do pay for that, but then K through 5, we all use Seesaw. So parents will never have to download multiple apps because there's so many communication apps out there for schools.
What are some of the other ones? What are some of the competitors that other people might use?
There's things like Class Dojo, Remind, but they don't do what Seesaw does. Like you can't assign activities. Like I can create an assignment and an activity that I do in my classroom, and I can change it up and do things so that I can push it out to my kids and they do it that way, So
are you able to keep track of grades through Seesaw?
Yes.
Okay, so this in turn is your grade book, all the communication.
Right,
with your
I
parents.
got everything right there, and I can go into their assignment and I can edit it. Like I can make comments on it, like, "Oh, you were so close, but you mixed this around," and I'm able to add stickers to their things. Like I always have stickers on their papers. I'm able to do that, a digital sticker. I'm able to send it back if I need them to fix things. Mm-hmm. And so, and then, like I said, once they've completed it and like it's what I want, or like I can see where they're at, I'm able to approve that. And then the parents can see it and parents can comment on it. So that's kind of awesome.
I'm kind of glad I'm not a student in 2021 here. I don't know if it would be awesome to have constant feedback with your teacher, your parents, and the administrators all in one place.
Well, and administrators aren't usually like in on it. Like administrators, they're talking like people who kind of oversee the program. Like they're the ones that add our students into the database. And what's really awesome about Seesaw for Schools is that once a kid is in our system, we never have to load them up. Like if I had, like I've used Seesaw in my classroom before we had Seesaw for Schools, and it was free. But then next year, the next teacher would have to load all those kids themselves. Where now all our kids are in the program, and their portfolio will follow them every year.
That sounds very slick for the teachers.
Mm-hmm. And the families, because then the families, once they're in, they're in.
So tell me this, in a normal post-COVID world, do you still think Seesaw will have a place?
100%.
You think this is the way things are going to go? They're going to move
100% with the activities and everything that it allows, because that was really big before. Mm-hmm. Just for me, I mean, I communicated daily with my families. And so like my notifications show up like a text on my phone, which I can silence that. I don't have to get notified. I can check them on my computer. It was so much more convenient for my families and for myself than even just having an email. I use this way more than I used my email because all my families were on it.
Well, that sounds very cool. And it sounds like if used properly, mm-hmm. I mean, kids will probably be able to learn better because mm-hmm. they'll be getting quicker feedback on a lot of their assignments.
And they pick it up so quick. I mean, I had first graders. I had little kids, and they picked up how to log in, log out, all that. And
is it easier to teach the kids than the parents in some cases?
Well, I did have Zoom meetings with each of my families to answer any questions. And I sent handouts home So I was maybe a little more diligent about making sure my families felt comfortable, and if they had any questions to let me know. I think one of the biggest confusing parts about it, and Seesaw has even said it, is that there's 2 apps. And so sometimes parents don't know which one am I supposed to have.
Yeah, that does get confusing.
So like if I expected, like if we were quarantined, I would expect my student to use the Seesaw Class app, but I only want my parents to use the Seesaw Family app. Yep. So that kind of got confusing.
So do you think that's something they're going to address in the future? I know I've had experience with a lot of companies that have 2 apps or something like that, and they come out with a new version, one new app. Seems like everything's a lot more streamlined that way. And they can have a lot of the features from the other apps built into the app. Do you think that'll happen in the future?
I don't see that right now.
Okay.
I know they've done a lot of like, they have different handouts that we can send home or different videos that we can tell parents to look at to kind of help clarify things a little bit more. But the apps do completely different things. And so I don't know how that could necessarily be connected.
Well, just going over... this all sounds like crazy, awesome technology for the classroom, but this isn't the only technology that's changing in the classroom. When I've helped you move stuff into your room, it seems like I remember back when I went to school, one of the best days ever was when the teacher pushed in the old tube TV on a little moving cart. You knew it was movie day.
I didn't even care what kind of movie it was. Like it can be educational.
Matter. It can be anything, and it's better than whatever we'd be doing in school. But I remember taking notes when the teacher would write on a transparency on an overhead projector. And right when I was getting out of college, it seemed like some of the rooms were getting the smart boards, and that was the pinnacle of technology at the time. Well, you said the smart boards are already kind of obsolete, and a lot of teachers are just going to a TV where they're able to wirelessly throw something up from their iPad or from their computer. Is there any other technology that you use that would have been different from when we were in school?
Well, I'd say, I mean, and it's weird because, you know, I'm in some of those teacher groups on like Facebook or social media, and some of them are like just starting to get into smart boards, you know, so it's so weird to see how, you know, different it is everywhere.
So maybe Valley City, even though we're a small town, maybe we're a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I mean, so this year, after this coming year, you know, K through 3, we're going to have 1-to-1 iPads. And so our district, K through 12, will be all 1-to-1 on iPads. And then, so that's going to be a big difference. And I've had an iPad, but it's different when my kids will all have one. You know, I always had like an iPad day. So anything I wanted to do with like Seesaw or any other apps or technology, I'd have to cram it into one day. So now I'll have more flexibility there. But yeah, we'll have a TV. And I'd say even just like the document camera, we kind of treat it like the overhead projector. But I guess we'll have an iPad, and I don't have this kind of document camera yet, but I'll be able to just like set my iPad on there and display whatever underneath it.
So for those of you who do not know what a document camera is,
it just displays whatever is on the table in front of me. And so
basically it's like a smart overhead projector.
Right, exactly. But I can use my pens, my pencils, and I can write on whatever paper or whatever I have on the table. If I have like manipulatives of some sort, it just displays whatever it is onto my smart board.
It sounds very neat. I remember back when my grandfather would bring something. He used to bring cool stuff to my classes for my show and tell. I always felt excited to have show and tell when my grandpa could bring something, because it would always be something awesome. I remember he had a beehive that he got into a jar one time. Another thing he used to bring was a NASA space tile, and he'd do a little demonstration on that. If you guys haven't seen what I'm talking about with NASA space tile, I actually have a video on my YouTube channel talking about it. It's titled Burning a Family Heirloom, and that was always neat. But another thing he brought was a projector, really old-fashioned. It would be the type that would be ticking like in a wheel.
Film strip kind of
like a film strip, and no sound, and all it would be is just pictures, and it was very entertaining. And I think of how far we've come in technology
know.
since then. And
I don't even know if we'd have those around to
yeah,
even show the kids.
Exactly. And some of that stuff is cool to go back and see
Yeah.
what other kids or how they learned when they were coming up. And
but what did I told my kids, because we talk about how school used to be different, way, way, way back when. And I always tell them how, I didn't have internet when I was a kid. And oh my goodness, that just like blows their mind because they can't imagine life without it.
And I've talked to you a little bit about this off camera, but I remember the days where we'd go to the computer lab. The computers would have the green screens and you'd have the floppy disks, and I always dreaded that.
Me too. It was like stressful for some reason.
I absolutely love technology, but in order to get the program that we were supposed to be using to work, it seemed like it was almost impossible. And for the teachers back then, I can't imagine trying to teach kids how to get a program running using a floppy disk. And it sounds terrible.
Kids are so different now because like my kids in my classroom have no problem just trying things. And they're excited to where I think of myself in the computer lab when I was little, I was afraid to make a mistake because I didn't know what I was doing. And so like I'd try and listen to what the teacher was telling me to do. But I mean, like my kids, they run those things better than I do.
It seems like kids today just know this stuff because they've grown up with it.
They have it at home.
And I remember, for me at least, that those computers were just totally foreign to me.
Yeah.
Because
we probably didn't have one at home. And so
didn't know how to type, didn't know how to do all that stuff. But and now I look back thinking, man, now how much I love technology. It's crazy. But do you think all of this technology in the classroom is a good thing? I think back and I think, I don't know if I'd want to learn everything on an iPad.
Right.
I liked the physical books. I liked the paper and pencil.
I agree. I feel, and especially for like the kids that I have, I feel like they're just learning to read and to write words. And so it is so important that, to be doing everything, by hand too. And I think I know that I've heard someone say that just because you take something and you like put it on an iPad or incorporate technology, it can still be boring. You know what I mean? Like doing a worksheet on an iPad or just doing it writing on your desk, it's the same thing. So it's like, it's got to be something that like they would not get out of this lesson if they were to be working on it on a piece of paper. Like what I'm giving them to do is going to like push it and really make it stick. And so I really pick and choose. And like I said, going from one day to then just having every day, I feel like I won't have to cram it all into one day. I'll be able to like seamlessly add it into my lessons where I need it.
So just because all this technology is being used doesn't mean you're not still using some of the old principles.
For sure.
You do you do the worksheets, you do writing.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's so important to keep doing that.
Right. Yep. Well, yeah, it's very interesting to see how far things have come. And so is there stuff that you've heard about that Valley City Schools hasn't got yet that you'd think, man, that's super futuristic, but it's right around the corner? Have you seen on your teacher groups or anything like that?
No, like I said, I feel like at times we're almost ahead.
And it seems like our college in town, Valley City State University, has always been on the cutting edge of technology. I think they promoted as one of the first schools to give all students laptops.
Yep.
And it seems like
I feel like they're really good about preparing their students and like educators for what's going to be in the classroom.
And I think that's where I got my kind of love for technology. I mean, I always kind of loved it, but when you're going to school and you're constantly on the computer, constantly learning cool new things that can improve your workflow, it gets kind of burned into your system like, oh, this technology is cool. We've got to embrace it. We've got to learn it so we can move forward in the future.
Well, and I think one of the beauty, things about it is that you're trying to teach your students, like, what's the best way that you learn? You know, so there might be situations where it's a choice, where if you want to use your iPad, you can. If you want to draw this out, you can. If you want to make a book, you know what I mean? It's like you want to develop like their love at an early age and let them go.
So do you see kids expanding in the classroom, like trying to learn other programs that you're not teaching them through the iPad?
Yeah, and something I started like later this spring, that again I'll start sooner if I have iPads every day, is coding.
Yeah, I thought
that's huge.
That is huge, and I know my nieces showed me that games that they're playing in. What grade does that start in?
We started in first grade, like code.org. I mean, kids can code dancing and video games.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing to me,
amazing.
because
and to me, like, I can still get confused on what to do, but they that's what they want to play, and they're just ready to do it.
And see, we're building the coders of the future.
Yep.
By the time they're through high school, they'll probably be coding like they're reading books, you know? So I think that's very cool to see. The next generation picking up on stuff like that.
Well, even like something that I love about it is, like I said, in first grade, we're really trying to build that foundation of reading and all that. And there's so many apps where kids are able to read books or have books read to them. And so they can still develop that love of reading, even if they're still struggling to learn to read.
Mm-hmm. See, I think I would have liked it because, you know, back in high school, we had to have mandatory reading. And I always hated that. I didn't like to just read because I had to read.
Right.
You know, I like reading. This is odd, but I like reading like manuals for products and stuff like that.
Learning things you can learn about that you're interested in.
Right, but those types of books were not considered books you should be reading for school. So if you read a manual, you get 0 credit for that. But I think it would be cool to have audiobooks, you know, on your iPhone and stuff. You can listen to them, and I think that would be fun if going back and listening to books. But
yeah, and they love that.
So speaking of technology, technology that Chelsey can teach me about, this is totally unrelated to the classroom, but it was recently her birthday, and she got, now what is the machine you got called?
A Cricut.
A Cricut. Something I've never heard.
I don't know much to do, so.
I've never heard of it before, but it's basically, what is it? I mean, is it a printer?
It's got like a blade, and it can cut out different things for you, and you can either, you know, you can make stickers, you can, you know, make different things. You know, what I see a lot of teachers do is they'll make T-shirts, or they'll make cute labels for their classroom, you know, stuff that I'm interested in. So,
well, I'm actually excited about it because I came home from work today and I had a very cool T-shirt made with my Jensen Air LLC website on it, and she told me it's sort of what is it called?
An infusible ink. It's my first time trying an infusible ink.
So she says it doesn't wash out, it won't peel, it won't crack. So I'm excited to see how
it feels like the shirt.
It feels just like the shirt, and it's very comfortable. So I'm excited to see what else you can do. Hopefully, I was thinking, oh man, it would be cool if she put custom labels on my pod mics.
I can do that.
Custom labels on my computer monitor.
Yep. It'll just take me many hours because I'm taking my time because I want to make sure I'm learning to do it right. So
if you guys want to see what kind of T-shirts these can make, head on over to YouTube. I don't know if this interview is going to be available right away when I post the podcast, but within a week or so, it should be on there, and you should be able to see what that looks like. This is, like I said at the beginning, this is episode number 59. So if you go back and there is an episode 59 on my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about when I talk about the T-shirt. And actually, that onesie is also made in the background of our set, is also made with a Cricut. Is that right?
Yep.
And that's also infusible ink.
Yep. Your sister made that one.
So I'm very excited to see what Chelsey makes in the future with this. You said it also makes like vinyl and...
Yeah, I have like vinyl stickers, and that's what, I mean, teachers will label things with. Yeah, I'll put the logo on the back. So there's just so many different things I know you can get different blades to like cut leather and different materials,
that could be
fabric.
cool.
Yeah.
Could you make like sheaths for knives?
Sure. No, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, that'd be some pretty thick leather.
I think the idea is that people make like jewelry and stuff.
Okay.
With the leather. And you can cut fabric and stuff too. And there's just so many things, but I have to like start little by little. But my big thing is like I always, in the summer especially, like getting ready for school, I always like to have those fun teacher shirts. And so I thought, I would just love to just make my own, because so many times I have in my head what I want and I just can't find the right thing. So I'm excited to try making some of my own.
That's very neat. And while we have you on here, we're going to put you on the spot again.
Oh, great.
We always talk about just getting started on this podcast.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Have you started your teacher pay teacher yet?
No, because now I got this cricket.
Oh.
I know. I need to.
Yep. Well,
one day I'll come on here and say I want to talk about starting that up.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the podcast tonight. I had a lot of fun, learned a lot about technology in the classroom and Seesaw. If any of you have any questions about that, you can definitely message me, but I'm not going to have any answers for you. So what I'll do is I'll pass that off to Chelsey. Hopefully she'll be able to help you out, get you an answer. If you want to get started with that, you can just sign up at, what is it, just seesaw.com?
Seesaw.me.
Seesaw.me. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank everyone for listening tonight. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned in the future. Chelsey, before I go, do you have any questions you want to put me on the spot before we?
I wish I had known. I would have.
Well, this is why I drop it at the end, so hopefully you don't have anything for me.
Man. How do you, after hearing everything that I've talked about tonight?
Yep.
How do you think I could incorporate the Stream Deck into my classroom?
I think endless possibilities for that. I think running, even just launching different websites that you have for your kids. I know you talk about, isn't there some sort of videos you show the kids? You can set it up so you don't have to, is that through a website?
Yep.
So instead of pulling up a browser and typing in the website and clicking on the video, you can just have a link set directly up on your Stream Deck, push that one button and it'll all come up.
So what if I, like I use a ton of sites with my kids all day, but most of them I have a username and password. Would a Stream Deck bypass that?
Good question. I don't think it would bypass it. I still think you'd have to sign
then I'd have to still go back to the keyboard.
You probably would have to sign in on a lot of that. That's a good question. I wonder if you can set up a multiple thing. I'll have to look.
Like a button where it's like, because I mean, if there's different passwords or whatever.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know there's a button on here where you're able to just enter text. So I for my YouTube videos here, I always type in the same thing. Like, do you want to see more content? Head on over to PrestonJensen.com. And I write that, every single video, typing that out. And every time I do it, I think, man, I'm wasting a lot of time here. I just click that button and boom, it's entered.
It's in there.
So, and like I said in the podcast previous to this, a lot of this stuff with the Stream Deck, you can just program into any regular keyboard. But the thing that's so cool about the Stream Deck is that it's got a visual on it. So you can just look at it and...
It looks really cool, and it looks really nice.
Push a button, and a subscribe button will come up. And I can see the subscribe button on the pad, so it's easy to... it just makes things easier, especially when you're running a live stream or a video like this podcast.
Well, I mean, and it's going to change for me this year, because where I'd have to usually with my smartboard, I always had to change different sources, like to document camera or video or to mirror my screen. And I guess with the TV, I won't have to do that. But I think that would probably be really slick if I'm switching between so many things, to just be able to push a button instead of, give me a minute, you guys, I got to search for this.
Yes, you could definitely set all of that up. And if it doesn't have the custom icons like you see on here.
You can make those?
You can just download a photo, or you could go over to like Canva or something and customize a logo and then have that saved on here, and then you know exactly what you're doing. So one of the cool things about this that I didn't know about it when I got it is we're using Ecamm Live, and I've just got a main view set up where it's just this camera, and it's Chelsey and I call it the main view scene. Well, if you look at this button, it's actually giving us a live preview right now of the main view. So there's little things like that. A very mini, and it's very delayed. It's
but still cool.
It's still very cool. So this thing has really impressed me. I know there's a lot of other products like it on the market, so maybe this isn't the cheapest option. And also, another thing, a new software just got released for the Rodecaster Pro. And I'm actually maybe 2 or 3 updates behind on it. And I've had a lot of questions on how to use some of the new updates on my YouTube channel. And I keep telling people I haven't updated it because it does everything that I want it to do already. And I don't want to mess up my workflow. Right. I get into such a routine that I don't want to mess it up. And I feel like if I update it and, now it's just not quite the same, then I've got to redo my workflow. And what I've been trying to do on this YouTube or this podcast and my YouTube channel is make sure everything is streamlined so it becomes less work. I can just create content and away you go. So,
and that's that reminds me a little bit about our smart boards. And I think one of the big reasons we're kind of getting away from it is our district's really good about updating technology and always keeping up with everything. So we got the new MacBooks, and they have the M1 chip?
M1 chip.
And so I think just the smart notebook program that we use to do any lessons with the smart board, it just wasn't ready for it, and it wasn't able to support it. And so that was kind of a difficult change.
That was kind of a bummer because I remember
and I love
you said that you got the M1 MacBooks, and I thought, wow, that is way ahead of the curve. I mean, I hadn't got it for my podcast at the time. I'm using the Mac Mini with the M1 chip, and I thought, man, that is ahead of the game. But like you said, there are some problems with buying the latest and greatest. Right.
And I love it. I love my MacBook, and I use it. I mean, even in the summer right here, I use it every day. I'm constantly using it. But, yeah, it's just everything else just couldn't keep up with it yet.
Right. Yep. And I noticed that's
and I know I'm guessing they're working on it too.
It's a good problem to have, though, to be able to work through those kind of things and be ahead of the game instead of trying to catch up all the time.
Oh, for sure. And it's something that I really appreciate about our district is that they're always like, okay, what's out there? What should we be trying? What should we be using?
Very cool. Well, I want to thank you guys all for listening. It's been a lot of fun learning right now, but now hopefully I'm going to convince Chelsey to go watch the NBA Finals Game 1 tonight.
We'll see.
And hopefully by now the Minnesota Twins are already beating the White Sox. We'll see. But I've got a lot of stuff planned for tonight, a lot of stuff planned for this podcast and my YouTube channel in the future. I thank all of you for listening, and I thank you for all of the likes, subscribes, great comments. I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I hope you are too. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.